If you're treating golfer's elbow and not seeing results, you might be targeting the wrong thing. After guiding hundreds of clients of mine with the same struggle, I've uncovered why most common solutions fall short. So in this video, I'm going to show you the proven fix my clients use so you can finally move pain-free in your elbow, fast and safely. But first, let's make sure we are solving the right problem. Here's a 30-second test. So the first assessment that you're going to be doing will be to find that medial epicondyle, which is that bony structure in the inner part of your elbow, and gently touch the insertions coming into that medial epicondyle. And if you have pain here, then that's an indication that you have the golfer's elbow. The second way you can go about assessing yourself is by holding up your arm this way, and then you're going to start pulling gently onto your fingers so you can start stretching out the muscles that are attached to your medial epicondyle. So if you have pain here as well, then that's also an indication that you have the golfer's elbow. And the last option to assess yourself is to hold your arm out this way and form a fist. And then what you're going to do is flex your wrist in, and you're going to use your other hand to push against your wrist, and your wrist is going to start flexing and resisting against your other hand. You'll start to feel that this part starts to fire up, and if you have pain, then that's also an indication that you might have medial elbow tendinopathy. If you have tingling or numbness in your fingers, you might have a nerve issue, and that's something I have to cover in another video. But today's exercises will still help to strengthen your elbow. And by the way, this isn't just a golfer's elbow thing. I see this in warehouse workers, guitarists, and even for me, I got it before from just opening a bottle of sauerkraut. And the real name of this condition should be medial elbow tendinopathy. But you can call it elbow pain, and that's about to get sorted today. So here's what's really happening and why rest and ice fail most of the time. Your body faces something called sarcopenia, and that's your natural muscle loss that accelerates, especially after 50. This creates an imbalance between the load-bearing capacity of the connective tissues and the external force that's being applied to it, causing the injury. Think of your tendons like an old bicycle chain, like I mentioned in previous videos. Without proper maintenance and progressive loading, they become stiff and unable to handle demands. Your wrist flexors may also become overworked while your extensors get weak and perhaps dysfunctional. Research does show that this isn't primarily inflammation. This is why complete rest doesn't actually fix the problem. Your tendons need to be strengthened with load in order to heal. Before we jump into the exercises, let's spend about 30 seconds to understand the anatomy surrounding your elbow. This will help to build the context around the exercises that we'll be doing today. Your inner elbow has this bony bump called the medial epicondyle, and attached to this bump are your wrist flexor muscles, and you can think of them as cables that help to curl your wrist and curl your fingers. And when these cables get overworked from repetitive gripping, lifting, or twisting movements, they create tension at the attachment point, at insertion points, like a rope that's fraying due to wear and tear. And the four main players that we are targeting today is the flexor carpi radialis, which helps to bend your wrist toward your thumb side, the flexor carpi ulnaris, that helps to bend your wrist towards the pinky side, the pronator teres, which helps to rotate your palm down, and lastly, the flexor digitorum superficialis. This helps to flex the fingers and specifically the middle portion of it. So these are the areas that we're going to be strengthening. So now let's fix this systematically. So here's what actually works. I've used this exact protocol with my clients, and it's going to be a 4-pillar approach. And this will consist of mobilizing the rotational stabilizers, strengthening muscle groups connected directly to the medial epicondyle. We're going to be working on the muscle imbalances between the flexors and the extensors. And we're also going to strengthen the muscle groups that support the function of the elbow, like the wrist as well as the shoulder, so that we can distribute the external loads throughout the entire system and avoid overstraining the elbow. So the first exercise pillar that we'll be working on will be our controlled articular rotations, specifically for our elbows and our wrist. So for our elbow cast, we can start by pushing our hands out this way. And from here, we want to externally rotate our forearms as best as we can to the end range. And from here, we're going to pull in our forearms while still engaging in the external rotation. And then we're going to internally rotate our forearms to the other side and making sure it's the end range before we start pushing back down this way, extending our arms. I'll do this for a couple of reps. And then what I'll do is I'll reverse the direction. So in the opposite manner, I'm going to internally rotate and I'm going to pull back. Then I'm going to externally rotate my forearms, and then I'm going to push back. So just reversing the direction. You can do this for a total of 30 seconds to a minute. You might experience some popping sound or releasing when you are working on the cars, but that's totally fine if you have no pain. But if you have tingling sensations, it might be a cause of the nerve issue. So what you want to do is reduce the intensity or reduce the range of motion that you're working in a rotation aspect. One key point to take note as well when performing the cars is to maintain tension, or in other words, muscle irradiation. This will help us to stabilize the joints, help us to build the strength and control via the movement, and not just like going through the movement in a floppy way. All right, we want to build that strength and control as we're doing it. You can also explore working in fist form, or you can work in fingers extended form when you're doing the cars. So you can play around with it and see what works best for you. Because when you're doing it in a fingers extended format, then you can also start to feel on the extensors as you're working this more. For the wrist cast, you can just simply have your fist out this way, and we're gonna do rotations. Avoiding any compensation that may want to arise using your forearm or the shoulders. Really keep your forearm still, elbows by your side, and just working with the wrist rotations this way. And then work on both directions. And you can also play around by pronating the grip this way. And do it in a slow and controlled manner so that you can really appreciate the range of motion that you have in your wrist. You might also feel some creaking, and that's totally fine as long as it's not giving you any pain. And then you can also explore your fingers extended out as well. So do this for about 30 seconds to a minute, and then you can move on to the next exercise. So the next exercise pillar we're going to be working on will be strengthening the muscle groups that are connected to the medial epicondyle. If you have a band, that will be ideal. If you're using a weight that you have, that's fine, or a grocery bag with goodies in there, that's fine as well. Just manage the intensity and the weight. Go light at the beginning, low intensity, especially if you have pain. You just want to focus on the engagement first. If you are really in a lot of pain, you shouldn't be doing the exercises yet, and you should be resting first. This is mostly for people who are having this kind of pain for a recurring period of time. You only want to start working on these exercises once you can start managing the pain levels and be able to do low intensity kind of exercises. So how we can start is, if you have bands, you can double loop this way and place your feet underneath as a weight, and you can place your arms right above your leg this way, above your knee, and let your wrist come all the way down this way and still have the bands slightly taut. So if it's too much, you can adjust the bands accordingly to give you more or less. Okay, so find that sweet spot for you. And from here, you're gonna start curling up and squeezing on the forearm muscle groups here. And let yourself go from end range to end range, from the bottom to the top, in a slow and controlled manner. After that, we're going to be working on the radial part of your contraction. So you have your radial, the bone here, and then you have the ulna, which is the bone here. So for the radial deviation, which is this part here, we're going to be working on bringing up our wrist this way. So from a side view, it'll look like this. Imagine bringing your wrist coming up to your nose in a nice, slow and controlled manner. Then for the ulna, which is on this side, we're gonna do it in a unique fashion. You can place your leg on a chair so that you don't have to lift it up like me, right? And then from here, keep your arms straight, and we're gonna start hooking backwards this time from this portion. So if you wanna use another way to activate your ulnar deviation, to train your ulnar deviation, let's do it this way. You can hold it into this way, and then you can go backwards this way. And then you can adjust how much weight you want. So if you want more weight, you can creep up and then start working from there. So you have all these options. You can use bands, you can use weights, you can use a stick or mop. It's all entirely up to you. At the end of the day, you want to do it in a slow, controlled, deliberate manner and making sure they are engaging the right muscle groups. Okay, so just to recap, the flexors, the radial deviation on the top, then the ulna over here, deviation. So as long as you know how to control the movement, activate the muscle groups, and you're working from end range to end range, that's the most important, without compensation as well. The next one that we're going to do is for our pronation and supination. Okay, so if you have a stick or weight that you can grab, for me, I've got my mop here. Keep your forearm still, placed on top of your knee, nicely placed this way. And then what we're gonna do is supinate and pronate in a slow and controlled manner with the weight that you can control. And remember, during rehab, it's totally fine to have a little bit of pain as long as it's within 3 out of 10 in terms of the pain threshold, because what we're doing is strengthening the tissues so that it can withstand and tolerate the external load of forces that you're applying to it. So you can do this for about 30 to 60 seconds in a slow and controlled manner, working from end range to end range. And you can do this for about 3 sets. You can also use bands. So if you step on the band, you can also do supination this way. And you can also do on the other way, pronation. So you have the 3 options. You can use a stick, a weight, or you can use bands. If the wrist flexors are significantly stronger or tighter than the extensors, it can place extra stress on the tendons attached to the inner elbow, causing the pain as well. So we want to make sure that we can balance this out by working on the extensors. Hence, working on the antagonist muscle groups could also help with the recovery. So for the extensors, we want to work on the opposite side now, making sure that we are working still from end range to end range. So from here, we're going to come up, extending our wrist backwards in a slow and controlled manner. So for the finger extensors, all you need to do is grab your working hand and have the other hand cup around it this way. So finger over finger, this way. And you're going to hold it isometrically. Your working hand is trying to push out, but your other hand that is grabbing over it is resisting. Okay, so you're going to be working on the extensors over here as you start to pull out your fingers. I'll pull your fingers apart. Hello. All right, you can hold there for about 30 seconds to 60 seconds. Start with low intensity first, and then you can start to progress the intensity as you get stronger. Okay, you do this for about 2 to 3 times a week, and then see how it goes from there. Make sure to do both sides as well. The other option is to have resistant bands for your fingers, which I've got, probably about like $1, $2. And you can use these. I put this in around my house or at my desk, and I can just slot it in this way, right? And from here, I can extend it out this way. So it's a little nifty gadget. So you can start to explore working on these antagonist muscle groups, and it might even help by curing the imbalance between your extensors and your flexors, because a lot of the times we focus on the grip strength. We're gripping a lot, especially when we do activities, but we rarely start extending out this way and working on the extensors. So it might help you, it might not. Everybody's built differently with different lifestyle activities that we're doing. So this is just another way for you to explore and identify if this helps as well. For the last exercise pillar, we're going to be working on the supporting muscle groups. So firstly being our grip strength, and then after that we'll be working on our shoulder. So if you for the grip strength, you can grab a tennis ball, and we can do about 3 to 5 reps of tennis ball squeezes. So you squeeze the tennis ball for about 5-10 seconds, and then you release. And then you go again, squeeze for 5-10 seconds, and then release. So you can do that for about 3 to 5 reps, and then change to the other side and work on the same thing. All right? We can do this for about 2 to 3 times a week as well. The other way you can also go about doing it is by doing something called like a suitcase carry. So if you have like a weight that you can carry, you can walk around the house, or you can just grab it this way and just go about walking. There's also exercise called the farmer's walk, where you can grab onto 2 at the same time and then just walk. And for another option, once you get stronger, you can also look to find yourself in a push-up position, but with your knees on the ground. You can splay your fingers out and place them on the ground like this, as though you're doing a push-up. Right? And then from here, slowly ease forward and leaning in as you start to irradiate or build tension through your arms or shoulders, and just hold there. One thing good about this one is you're starting to engage your shoulders as well, which is working on the supporting muscle groups. So now we're starting to integrate everything together from the start all the way to the end. All right. So from here, irradiate, keep tension throughout the shoulders, your core, your legs even, and then making sure everything is all full tension here. And then we're going to start leaning forward a little bit more and then easing off. In terms of reps and sets, you can look to do 5 to 10 second isometric holds, Do this for about 5 to 10 reps for about 2 to 3 sets in total. For the last thing I'm going to share today will be using something that you can grip onto, like a door handle that's immovable, that's sturdy, something that won't break. And this is a disclaimer. It's entirely up to you to choose what works. And what we're going to do, we're going to grip onto it and gauge our grip strength and gauge on our shoulders, all right? And make sure we don't let our shoulders drop this way. We want to make sure our shoulders are squared forward to the front and hold this position. And as you may be able to see, I have a chair here. So in case I give way, I can always sit back down. Okay, so a bit of safety there. All right, from here, you can work to about 30 seconds to 1 minute, and we can change to the other side. And as we change, we want to make sure that we stabilize our shoulder and change to the other side smoothly without having to drop our shoulder. So from here, keep the shoulder stabilized, hang in there, and transfer. Okay, so same thing, keep the whole body irradiated, keeping tension throughout the whole body, especially on the shoulders, and then work 30 seconds to 1 minute on the other side as well. You can do this for 3 total sets, and then do this for about 2 to 3 times a week as well. Okay, if you want to add another layer of difficulty, you can grab a stretch band or something like a rope that is sturdy enough. You can hook it around, and then from here, you can lean back even more. Okay, and then just make sure you have your chair or something that you can land to in case you need to sit back down. So this is just a frontal view for you to see, making sure the shoulders are squared forward. And when we change, make sure you keep that shoulder squared forward even when you change, and avoid tilting when we change this way. So now that you have all the exercises in your toolkit, one thing to take note is that if, like, say, you have your own activities in your own lifestyle, like say you're a musician or you're a manual laborer that have to continuously use your arms and you feel that you are triggering the elbow pain, try to look to reduce the intensity of those activities if possible. And if you're working at your desk, look to swap your mouse hand and change to the other hand. Even use the other hand for your touchpad whenever you're working on your laptop every now and then. If you're hitting the gym, maybe grab some lifting straps to help you, and also maybe switch to neutral grips instead of pronated or supinated grips. So plainly speaking, if you have any activity that starts to flare up the pain, you want to reduce the intensity or look for alternatives to try and avoid flaring it up. If you've tried this protocol for about 6 to 8 weeks without any improvement, here's what's likely to happen. Scenario 1, you might be doing too much too fast, so look to reduce the intensity. Scenario 2, there might be a concurrent nerve involvement, and this will mean you will need additional work, or if you can, seek your healthcare provider's advice. Scenario 3, you might have another contributing factor coming from the shoulder or the neck. Scenario 4, it might be from your lifestyle activities that may be affecting, like poor sleep, which might reduce collagen synthesis up to 40% and delay tissue repair. Some pain monitoring techniques is to rate your pain levels out of 10. If exercises cause pain above 3 out of 10 during activity, or increased pain in the next day, then it is time to reduce the intensity via adjusting the frequency, load, and volume. As a potential realistic timeline for recovery, you might get 50% better in 6 weeks, 80% better in 3 months, but it still depends on your individual progress. Just take note that tendons heal slower than muscles. Here's what most videos won't tell you though. Your elbow pain connects to your overall functional movement. Poor sleep, high stress, and blood sugar imbalances all affect tissue healing. This is why I emphasize movement as medicine in everything I teach. So you can look to have simple additions that accelerate the healing by performing controlled articular rotations, CARs, daily. Maybe do a 30-minute daily walk to improve blood flow to tendons. Ensure that you're having 7 to 8 hours of quality sleep to optimize tissue repair, and manage your stress to reduce inflammatory markers. This holistic approach is why my clients often see faster results than those only focusing on the painful area. If you'd like to go deeper into these methods and receive insights on my complete joint bulletproofing protocols, make sure to sign up for my newsletter where I'll share exclusive programming templates as well as advanced techniques. You now know how to fix elbow pain using evidence-based progressive loading. But here's the thing, many people focus on the painful area and miss a critical piece of the puzzle, the shoulder strength. I've shared one of the exercises today for the shoulder, but if your shoulders aren't strong enough to distribute load properly throughout your kinetic chain, guess what happens? Your elbows take the brunt of the stress during lifting, carrying, and gripping activities. So watch this video next, where I will show you how to build bulletproof shoulders that support your elbows, because when your shoulders can handle their fair share of the load, your elbows finally get the relief they need for the long-term pain-free movement.